I want to start by reading a poem, not a poem that was published in Tikkun, but a poem that I found because I was reading Tikkun this week. Last week I spoke about blogs and how I was really kind of not very happy about the fact that when you're on the internet, you get all your preferences fed to you, and you get to see and read all the stuff that you're interested in, and it can make us lazy. We don't have to go and look at things that we don't want to. You can scan and follow stuff that you like, and so avoid those things that might irritate you into some kind of mind-changing moment, or at least into some little bit of growth. I spoke about blogs as being those things that contribute to that kind of keep me comfortable in my own little worldview, and that we needed to have print stuff in front of us to really connect us and expose us to stuff that we might not otherwise see. Well, don't believe anything I said last week about that, because this week when I read my hard copy Tikkun Magazine, and then I went to the website. And when I went to their website, I found myself following and chasing down all kinds of links and being exposed to things that I would never have exposed myself to if I hadn't been on the website, because it wasn't there in the magazine. So you have to have a balance between the both of them, I think. So this poem is one that I came to through a variety of links that I followed as a result of my exposure of myself to the breadth of Tikkun on the net. It's called The Singing by poet C.K. Williams. I was walking home down a hill near our house on a balmy afternoon under the blossoms of the pear trees that go flamboyantly mad here every spring with their burgeoning forth, when a young man turned in from a corner singing. No, it was more of a cadenced shouting, most of which I couldn't catch, because I thought because the young man was black, speaking black. It didn't matter. I could tell he was making his song up, which pleased me. He was nice-looking, husky, dressed in some style of big pants, obviously full of himself, hence his lyrical flowing over. We went along in the same direction. Then he noticed me there, almost beside him, and "Big!" He shouted, sang, "Big!" And I thought, how droll to have my height incorporated in his song. So I smiled. But the face of the young man showed nothing. He looked, in fact, pointedly away, and his song changed. "I'm not a nice person," he chanted. "I'm not a nice person." No menace was meant, I gathered, no particular threat. But he did want to be certain I knew that if my smile implied I conceived of anything like concord between us, I should forget it. That's all. Nothing else happened. His song became indecipherable to me again. He arrived where he was going, a house where a girl in braids waited for him on the porch. That was all. No one saw, no one heard. All the unasked and unanswered questions were left where they were. It occurred to me to sing back, "I'm not a nice person either," but I couldn't come up with a tune. Besides, I wouldn't have meant it, nor he have believed it. Both of us knew just where we were in the duet. We composed the equation we made, the conventions to which we were condemned. Sometimes it feels, even when no one is there, that someone, something is watching and listening. Someone to rectify, redo, remake this time again. Though no one saw nor heard, no one was there. Tikkun Magazine is about 25 years old. It was born out of the energy and passion for spiritual justice and political justice that Rabbi Michael Lerner lived out in his synagogue, but also wanted to see made real in the United States. And so he began this feisty little magazine, which is now celebrating its 25th birthday. He drew his sister, also an activist, but a much more gentle one apparently, into the role of editor, and she worked side by side with him, the two of them bringing a voice that was cadenced from the perspectives of very politically active parents around the kitchen table. And Tikkun has grown to a very well-recognized magazine in the United States, a magazine of the left, the politically left, placing articles consistently in the face of people who might object to the content so that they might shift their perspective and see the world slightly differently. It's such a popular magazine that they have turned down something like 25,000 articles during the course of that 25 years, despite the fact that they have never ever been able to afford to pay anyone for one of the articles published in the magazine. The religious right in America is particularly strong and has tied itself very closely to the political agenda in the United States. And so Michael Lerner sees the religious left as needing to tie itself more closely to the political left in America. And so much of what you find in between the covers of the Tikkun Magazine are articles about political situations. It's a powerful magazine, and it's an extremely hard read. Hard because it slaps you in the face over and over again. Hard because it makes you remember stuff that you really don't want to remember, or exposes you to stuff that you wish you rather didn't know. Stuff that is going to make your life uncomfortable, stuff that's going to make you have to change your mind about something, stuff that's going to rattle around in there until it finds a place and your life won't be the same again. It's tiring to read that kind of stuff. So I might actually cancel my subscription after this week of focusing on Tikkun. I've had subscriptions to magazines like this before that bring a religious perspective to difficult issues and challenge us to see things from the perspective of faith and to go out in this militant way to work about making change in the world. And you know, I talk about that all the time, to the point that most of you are exhausted about it. But it's something that's very real and that burns Michael Lerner from inside. Not quite so much his sister, but caught up in the story and the work that he does. The two of them are a powerful, powerful duo in America. The reason I read the poem that I read is because C.K. Wright Williams was one of the people honored at the 25th celebration for Tikkun. They gave out awards to people who had been particularly instrumental in making the work that the progressive left needs to do, making it known nationally. Another one was the Justice Richard Goldstone. Recently, the United Nations has come up with a report on Gaza, and Richard Goldstone had authored also a report on the situation in Gaza. Many of us have heard about the flotilla going toward Gaza, trying to break that blockade on Israel, or that Israel is holding. And accusations, media, all kinds of news has come out to say how wrong it is for that flotilla to be trying to break the blockade. And yet, Goldstone's words, his story about what Gaza is really like, the United Nations report that shows around 50% or more of Palestinians are unemployed who live in Gaza, that most Palestinians live on less than $1 a day. When that information seeps its way out into the public, we start to pay attention. And so he got one of those awards.